Today's program is going to be Switzerland, Alpine Peaks, Valleys, and Bells by Charles Davis and Joann Miller. Please silence your phones during the presentation. Charles Davis is a Toledo native and Joann Miller is from Fulton County. After their marriage, they settled in Monclova Township and raised their family of 5 children. Charles recently retired from the University of Toledo, where he was a business manager for the Department of Chemistry. Joann retired a few years ago from her position as a staff attorney for the state of Ohio. While raising their family, they vacationed throughout the United States, focusing on historical sites, natural parks, zoos, amusement parks, family visits, and the special interests of their children. However, since their retirement, they have started to travel abroad, since both have already traveled to all 50 states. So far, they have visited England, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and Germany. Along the way, they determined they prefer seeing natural wonders rather than the big cities. They have traveled with some of their children, with one son taking a special interest in researching and planning the trip, with input from the rest of the group. They found that they generally have similar interests and all work well together. Well, let's enjoy their program today. Thank you.
Hello. This trip was taken in August of 23. It was my wife and I with our oldest son and our youngest son. Our youngest son did probably 90% of the work researching it and making all the reservations. The biggest thing we bought with the help of Switzerland was a Swiss travel pass. It was about 450 Swiss francs, roughly a 1-to-1 conversion, and it covered all public transportation. I'll step away from it. Okay.
Whoa, yeah, that's good.
That's good?
Yeah.
Okay.
You won't get feedback.
All right. Okay.
You're all set there.
Okay. It covered all public transportation. It was major discounts on most things we went to, including gondolas, etc. Ways you got up the mountains. We flew from Detroit through Paris to Geneva, and into Geneva. Then we spent 4 nights in Lucerne, 3 nights in Bern, 2 nights in Vevey, and from each of those places we went like a spoked out into different places by riding the train out to the place and back in. Each of the hotels we were probably at most a 4-minute walk away from the train station. So Geneva Switzerland is roughly the size of Kentucky, so even from Geneva to Lucerne was about a 3-hour train ride. We spent the first 2 days in Lucerne. While we're there, we walked across the Chapel Bridge, which was originally built in 1611, however was partially destroyed in a 1993 fire. The unique thing about it is there was 158 of these paintings that were on like the arch area inside the bridge. It covered the history of Switzerland and Christendom. However, in the fire, all except 40 were destroyed, so a lot of them are recreations now. Okay. We walked around the old area of Switzerland, the town, which was a number of unique shops. There was kind of a unique apothecary. There's also the mosaic, the paintings on the walls of the shops. From there, we walked to the Lion Monument, which is just off of downtown Lucerne. This was carved into a stone. It memorializes the Swiss guards who were slaughtered defending Louis XVI at the Tuileries during the French Revolution in 1792. It was carved, I think, in like the 1840s, so it's been there a very long time. And it covered a pretty wide area. Okay. From there, the next day, we took, right outside of Lucerne was Mount Pilatus. We took a 4-person gondola up to get on a 30-person gondola to get to the top of Mount Pilatus. Pilatus in German is dragon. And this was the crest area of Mount Pilatus. We spent some time at the top, and while we're up there, you could barely see, in some cases not even see, the cows, but you could clearly hear the echo of the cowbells that were miles away. Those are various hiking paths. That's Lake Lucerne from the top. And carved into the mountain were these, they call the Dragon Trail caves, which were basically walking into the mountain, and at various spots you could see out of the mountain, over the valleys. Then we took, this is a cod rail train down the other side of the mountain. And while you're going down, as you can see, I think you could see people that were hiking both up and down this mountain that we were riding. It took us about 20 minutes to get down, just riding that. The next day, we took a variety of trains to get to Meinfeld. From there, we picked up a bus to where we call the Heideweg Trail. It's about a 1.5 mile trail which goes through town, a shortcut through a field and up the road to go to Heidedorf. Heidedorf is a town this is the area that the author of Heidi had the inspiration for Heidi. She's fictional, obviously, but they took some of the area, in the village and other parts of what would have been part of Heidi's life in the 1880s and turned it a little like a tourist attraction. It's actually quite interesting. Some of the houses are in the area of like 300 years old, where Heidi would have, in a similar place that the character would have lived. This is what Heidi and people at that time were going to live in summer cottages. They live in town during the summer and during the winter, and then when the cows went up, or in their case the goats, they live in small cottages higher up in the mountains during the summer. This was shows what was in Heidi's bed of hay, and also an Alpine view out the window from the house. And this is more, in that area they had like a school, a barn, and in the ticket office there was like a museum dealing with both the author, a variety of translations, versions of the book that have been put out, and the number of movies, which was probably around a dozen different movies in various languages have been made about Heidi. From there, we worked our way back to Meinfeld, took another train to Sargans, and then took a bus. At this point, you're crossing the Rhine River into Liechtenstein, which is the city of Vaduz. Liechtenstein, I believe, its population is only around 40,000 in the entire country. Up on top is the Prince's Castle, which was under construction at that time, but it's not open for public tours except one day a year, but you have to be a citizen of Liechtenstein to get the public tour. Down in the city there was a little model of what the palace looks like. From Vaduz, we took a bus through a series of switchbacks, got up to a ski village called Malborn. There we came across a little grocery store and trying to look for something to eat, and we came across they had what we were told was the national meal of Liechtenstein, which was basically a bologna loaf sandwich, which was actually remarkably good. But at that point we rode a chairlift the rest of the way up Mount Sars. This was the only point in the whole trip we ran into someone who spoke not a word of English we had to deal with, and so we had to use our limited high school German to figure out exactly what was going on. Survived. At the top, this is the view of the mountain area from the top. That's the flag of Liechtenstein on the top up there. And then back into town, where there's the National Government Parliament building, the older one, and there's also a newer one which didn't get a good picture of. That's the brick building just to the right. Plus, this is the Catholic Church, which is the in the Alpine, what they call the Alpine style churches, which is kind of like the onion dome on it. This is the next day on our train ride. We went by Mount Sauerbraten and Bergenstock on one side and Mount Pilatus on the right. On our way, we basically took train, bus to work our way towards Reichenbach Falls. For those that are familiar with Sherlock Holmes, Reichenbach Falls is where Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty had their fight and fell both, at least in that version of the book, both of them fell to their death. You could take is that a cobwheel? You take a train up about halfway up, and then it's a hike the rest of the way up. Whoops. And then at the very top, you get to a hotel that's at the top. They also, which was kind of nice, they handed out free apples and water for you if you actually made it all the way up to the top. From there, we took a series of a bus to get over to Baumbach Open Air Museum. Open Air museums are probably some of you familiar, pretty common in Europe. It's kind of like a gigantic greenfield village in a way. It's 164 acres and over 100 traditional Swiss homes and other buildings on it from various time frames and various regions of Switzerland. So you get a really good view. You really can follow Swiss history. Of the 164 acres, actually not one step was on level ground. So you're basically going up or down the entire way. More the inside of the homes. And covered Switzerland is basically 4 different regions: German, French, Italian, and Romansh. But they covered all of them. Now what they did here to show you that it's becoming something that's done in Switzerland these days is they take a traditional Swiss farmhouse, which may be 200-300 years old, keep the exterior the same, but modernize the interior. So they're showing how people still live within a more of a modern environment on the inside. From there, let me show you where we're at. We went from Lucerne, we stopped at the train station Interlaken to put our luggage in train lockers and then go on the rest of the way. Because a couple days we were in between hotels. We had done this, every trip we've taken the last 3 years, we've done the method where it's all carry on. We carry on the plane, we carry on on trains, so we just can move easily on our own. We then boarded, from there we went on train to Grindelwald. This is where we were going to, we went up Mount Fist. This on the far right is a robot. As the gondolas would go through the station, sometimes you could buy a ticket to ride a go-kart on your way down. Well, the robot would load the go-kart on top of the gondolas as they go by. They would know which ones we had gondolas. We were going to take the go-kart down, and so we'll load up that way. This is the area as we get to the top. The views up there. The Bernese Alps. Again, grazing cows everywhere the eyes can see. Now this is what they call the Fist Cliff Walk. It goes along, a couple different areas, goes along the edge of the mountain. You're probably, a 2,000 sheer foot drop if you messed up. Joann and I, just to take good pictures, we stayed behind, so they could get good pictures. And you get quite the view out there. I think the only problem with some sort of people, it was more a little bit because of big tourist areas. Some people didn't exactly move quickly through these areas, so everyone get their chance quickly to get the pictures went out. This has got the video. The next one. This is just the various cows, the cow patties. And we spent part of the trip looking for the perfect cow/mountain picture. So, now we You could hear that sound for miles anytime you're up in the mountains. Then, while we're up on the top, our youngest son paraglided down from the mountain. I've got a long-standing personal policy to never jump off a perfectly good mountain. So we took the gondola back down and met him back in town. He said it was the best thing on the trip. That's another way some people, where you can see people take the go-karts down the mountain also. That's why you're probably in the air, what, 25 minutes? About 20 minutes? Okay, we sort of catch up a little bit. Okay, this monolith, and this is, we went back up the other, it was, I'm sure I got the right mountain, Vegan. This, at the top of this mountain, that is a slide, the cow, that's a children's slide. You go in the backside and come out through the mouth. That's right. It's kind of the digestive system in the opposite. Then while you're up there, again, just the various scenery of the Alps when they're at the top. We took what's called the Royal Route, a gondola halfway down the mountain the other side, to a small town called Vegan, and then started a hike down the rest of the mountain from Vegan. It took us about an hour and a half to get to the town of Wildwood. This was probably one of the least steep areas of the hike. We were constantly going down. What was amazing, we're doing this. We're like struggling going down. Well, the two of us were, the other two weren't. And there'd be people 10, 15 years older than us just flying by us walking up the hill. You know, the Swiss have kind of a totally different attitude towards what's hiking and stuff. They thought nothing of it. On the way down, we stopped, looked in the other direction. This is Wildwood Valley. This J.R.R. Tolkien stood in this exact spot, looked over this valley, and came up with the inspiration for Rivendell and The Hobbit. It was based on this valley. This is more of a slight different view of the same valley. From there, we took another train, got to Bern. Wampdorf is a suburb of Bern. Then just put this hotel in, it's called the Coop Hotel, which is kind of unique is that nobody apparently works there. You enter the hotel by basically using your phone. You get a code, you put it in your phone, it gets you into the building, gets you into your room. In the room, this wall would move, well, on that side, your bed's half covered, and your kitchen's there. At night, you slide that wall over, and you got a full-size bed, and the kitchen's covered up. We chose this partly one reason we got to this hotel was it had a washer-dryer, but nobody works at the hotel. So it's one of those washer-dryers where it's one piece. Nobody works at the hotel, so it was like, how are we going to find out? So, fortunately, we had 20-year-olds with us who we got the instruction manuals online, which of course were in German. But so using Google Translate, we see one person's with instruction manuals on their phone, the other's using Google Translate. We actually got the thing working. But because to go 11 days with those carry-on luggage, you kind of need to do laundry at some point along the way. This is Bern. The city is another world UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is the Zeitgabe. The time is a medieval clock in the middle of town. There's various moving figures. There's bears, a jester, a rooster, Kronos, the god of time. strikes on the hour, and it's like any clock, it becomes kind of crowded. But unlike, say, Munich, where you're standing in a Platz, you're just in the street. And sometimes, like, truck drivers and stuff aren't too thrilled about everyone just standing around waiting for the clock to turn. This is the Parliament building in Switzerland, and a view from the Parliament area. These are the various water fountains. They were built in the medieval times and are updated in like the early 1600s to the they were originally wood, but they were updated to the stone. There's different historical figures that be on each one. I think the ones we have up here include the Samson opening the lion's mouth, there's a bear, and the child eater, which, depending on which version of the story you want to go with, is the scared children into behaving. The interesting thing about this in Switzerland, these fountains are all drinkable water that pour out of them. And this is pretty common almost anywhere you went in Switzerland. The fountains in town would be drinkable water. You could just fill up your water bottle. Just walk up and fill up your water bottle and not think anything of it. This is the bear pit. Bern is German for bear. It was the original duke who founded the town went hunting when he founded the town back in the 1100s. And he swore he's going to name the town after what the first animal he killed. Well, unfortunately, he didn't kill a fox or a squirrel, it was a bear. And then the lucky bear became the name of the town. Later, after they won a battle holding back the invasion of Louis VII, the Bernese soldiers brought back a bear as a trophy of war. And they put it alive and put it in a bear pit along the river. Since that, this was in 1515. Since that time, they've always kept bears right there along the river in downtown. It's just what you walk along town. It's not a zoo. I think there was 4 bears down there. One of the reasons we really wanted to see this was there's a board game named Baron Park, which is based on this.
Oh my gosh.
So we thought, we got to see this. So it was actually kind of interesting because it was a pretty large area with these bears just happily living their life in the middle of a 300-person city. Then we walked up a mountain on the upwell hill outside of town to the Rose Garden, which gave you the more of the panoramic view of the city and the Rose Garden itself. Went back into town, and this is the flat that Einstein lived in when he was worked in the patent office there. So he lived there, I think, only about 2 or 3 years. It's like, then off to the right is the Gothic Cathedral of the Minster.
Was that a real camel?
No.
I didn't think so.
Apparently, it's very common to have parades, so to speak, on religious days. And that's what they would use things like that. It was along those lines. They had someone sitting there. We went from Bern to go further south to pick, which is Aventia, which is Roman ruins. It used to be the Roman capital, the Aventium. This is a 16,000, what's left of a 16,000 capacity Colosseum. The small building, which is also medieval, is now a museum. It had a variety of things. The gold bust of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, as stone reliefs of Romulus and Remus. Also in town were fragments left of various Roman ruins. Now, before we got to Zermatt, that day we got back, this was a Sunday, and in Switzerland, a lot of things aren't open on Sunday. They still have what we grew up as blue laws for the most part. And so we thought we were just going to go into a grocery store and grab, a lot of times we'd get some of our meals from grocery stores. Well, the grocery stores were all closed, and we did find, we were right by the National Soccer Stadium, it was McDonald's open. And we thought, well, part of us were like, oh, we don't want to eat at McDonald's when we're in Switzerland. Well, we went to McDonald's. Macaroni was the sandwich. It was probably the best hamburger I ever ate. It was incredible. It was like, even the hamburgers are great over here. But we were stunned at how good it was because we thought it was just going to be a Big Mac or something. And it was not outrageously priced. It was 6 francs. for it. Then we went down to the town of Vermont, which is the iconic view of the Matterhorn and the town, the Matterhorn in the background. Caught the first train up to go up the glacier opposite of the Matterhorn. At this point, we're at probably a little over 10,000 feet on the altitude. It's the only time I think we were above 10,000 the whole trip. This is the only time it was cold enough to put a jacket on. The time we were in Switzerland. And the only time we felt the altitude, a lot of times all the other mountains were at 7,000, 8,000 feet, never really felt the altitude. But somehow when you got a little over 10,000, it's like, oh. Also, unlike a lot of gift shops and mountains, you could buy a $10,000 Swiss watch while you were there too. From the top was the view of the Matterhorn. Fortunately, we took the picture early because within 15 minutes, a cloud came across and the rest of the time we were up there, the top of the Matterhorn wasn't visible. We then took the train back down, we're at 10,000, took it down to around, there's train stations on the way down. We stopped, got off at around 8,000 feet, and we're going to hike down to 6,000 feet. You're above the tree line, so basically this is what it was. And it was worth it. Can you go on to? You got at the top, people do little stone monuments, and you got down there, you can see by a little lake where you can see the top of it where it's gone, but you get the reflection of the lake. Then we got back into town. A lot of us, the initial shot, the picture you see is a little touristy in Zermatt, very nice looking Swiss chalets. Well, if you look around town long enough, you find the older section of town, which is like the actual buildings. The ones over to the left is what, make sure I get the name right. They're basically on stilts that the hikers would stay in before they went up the mountain. It took us a while to find, but there is a cemetery where a number of the people that died attempting to climb the mountain are buried, with actually some interesting epitaphs on the stones. From there, we went to on our way to Montreux. We went to the Chateau de Charonne, which is an 11th century castle. Let me get that right. Medieval castle. It was the House Savoy was original. People ran it, so due to its location on Lake Geneva, it's a very good defensible position. It also was a place that poets and people like that somehow got enjoyed, because there's known that Hugo, Dumas, Mary Shelley, Lord Byron all went there. Matter of fact, when you go into the dungeon, Lord Byron took the time to write his name on the wall, and it's still there. And they say that this is basically the castle that Disney used as their inspiration for the castle in The Little Mermaid. And directly across the street is Fort de Charonne. This is during the World War II era. The Swiss early on decided they were going to remain neutral, but they weren't going to remain neutral and just hope for the best. People don't realize Switzerland, even to this day, it's 100, with very few exceptions, every male in Switzerland has to do military service. They built these, I think there's a total around 20 of these various around, basically the defensible theory was a redoubt. Everyone they'd fall back. These were forts with gun placements in them, that this was where they were going to hold off the Germans if they decided to make their attempt. And this one's open. This one's open for tours, not used anymore. It was used like the 1980s or something. But it's quite a thick. You're actually in the fort, and the interior is built into the mountain. They had moving pictures that showed on the wall, so you had sort of the feel when you're in different areas that the soldiers were in the room. So you got to feel how they lived. We're in the dining area, the infirmary. Directly across the street, we took a boat as part of to get back to Montreux from there. And as we, did we get the picture? The castle? The picture of the castle from North? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because that's how we got the picture from the water, was from the boat going by the castle on the water back through Montreux. Then, I'm trying to get my map here. We took another funicular ride up Rocher-de-Nez, which took you to another mountain that gave you basically a 365 degree of the area from, you could see everything from Lake Geneva onto the Alps and Banner itself. Nearby, we stayed in the town of MVA. This is in the French region. For reasons we never could quite figure out, they had an interesting statue of a fork. I know I call it riding a fork in the road, but and it took us a while to figure out that's Charlie. It's a statue of Charlie Chaplin, who apparently adored this area and is buried in MVA. As we were walking by, we didn't realize it. We were like, why is there a full statue of Charlie Chaplin? From there, we went up to Gruyere. This is a medieval town. Fortunately, we went there very early in the morning before anything was really open, so it kind of felt like a medieval town. There was no cars in the town, there were people in the town. Later in the day, it became very crowded, very touristy a little bit. There's a 13th century chateau there that you were able to tour. That's it from the outside, and then various views on the inside. It was constructed yet in the mid-1300s. And then that's more of the town, the medieval town of Gruyere. Back into the town of Gruyere, there's a cheese factory, which is Gruyere, surprisingly, it's Gruyere cheese, which we took as like about a 45-minute tour of the factory. It was actually quite fascinating because you could see the process of going through from basically liquefied to in these molds, and these guys were just working at incredible speed to keep, because apparently there's a great deal of time in turning these molds, and then eventually they age for quite some time. Before we went there, we should do the cheese. Of course, the cheese factory also included a lot of cheese samples, which is good. But we were like running a little late today. We thought, well, why don't they had a little restaurant, a gift shop. We go, well, we're not worried. We'll just eat. We don't really want to eat a gift shop. But it was possibly the best meal we ate in Switzerland, because we sat down and just said, what do you guys got today? They said, well, we just out yesterday, and we up in the mountains, just because of the season this year, we got fresh mushrooms. And we got, so basically we had like a mushroom casserole, mushrooms and Gruyere cheese. And then berries, their dessert was berries, they just picked that morning up in the mountains. From there, we could have taken a train, but the train station was closed. So we took a bus to get to the town of Brock. There's a Caillet chocolate factory, which is part of, was the Nestle family, it's part of Nestle. From there, you can see the process of how chocolate is made. A lot of samples and a gift shop with basically every kind of chocolate that you could possibly want. It became sort of our mission while we were in Switzerland to try every kind of chocolate we could try. And Caillet is by far the superior. And you just can't buy it in the U.S. You can get it, have it shipped to you. But it's just, even though it's Nestle that owns it, they don't sell it. But the taste is just completely different than what you taste in a chocolate bar in the U.S. But however, we probably each brought back 10, 12 bars apiece. You know. From there, we Chateau des Oaks. Our sons, at this point, we'd see this. There's this iron suspension bridge, the oldest iron suspension bridge in the French region of Switzerland. And we had a little time, they went across it. We were like, at this point, this whole trip, we probably averaged around 8 or 9 miles of walking per day. And we were like, well, we can, because it was like anywhere in Switzerland, you were going to go down, up, before you got there. We were like, well, why don't you guys go ahead and we'll just wait in town for you. So they went ahead and got the pictures of the bridge. We waited back and watched a cat chasing mice in the field. And then basically we took a train back to Geneva and flew to Paris. This is on probably number you've been to Paris. In Charles de Gaulle Airport, there's what they call a napping area, and there's this huge statue of a cat taking a nap in the airport. And then other than that, basically was the end of the trip. Possibly the most miserable flight of our life, flying back from Paris to Detroit, but that's not part of the story. And that's it. Any questions?